Welcome to Breaking Barriers, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to Breaking Barriers with Years of Shannon. I'm here today with Ronny Mathew. He is also a stunt actor. Hi Ronny, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. So, tell me your story. So, where does it all start? Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Oh, well, once upon a time. No, I was born in Livingston, New Jersey, which is a terrible little town in North Jersey, which acted like it was New York, but then New York didn't like us because they're New York. And then Pennsylvania tried to slide in like they were part of that pie also. But the truth of the matter is that entire tri-state area is just trash. Like it's just awful. So that's where I was born.
Right. Way to be proud.
Yeah.
Be proud.
It's too much ego, man. It's too much going on out there. It's too fast. Like they don't care about people. It's rough. It's rough. And I mean, it gave me a lot of experience. It taught me a lot of things. It taught me how to drive, which is one of my best abilities in terms of the stunt world. And double-edged sword of that, it really drives me nuts living in Atlanta right now because no one here can drive. Ridiculous.
I must admit that being here, like traffic is horrible.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I'm from Maryland, so traffic has picked up lately because, you know, the DC metropolitan area or whatever, and then Northern Virginia is really bad. But in Northern Virginia, we have the Easy Pass lanes, so it does kind of break it up a bit. But here, like even last night, we were out in the city. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and it was still like gridlock.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think I'm asking much of the traffic flow here. I just want slow people to stay out of the left lane. Like that's all I'm asking for. You don't have to be like, you know, civil servant by slowing us fast people down in the left lane. Let the cops do their job.
Right.
Just stay in the right lane, get off your phone, and drive. Like, really simple stuff.
Really simple. It's not that hard.
I'm not saying learn the advanced techniques of IPDE and all that. Like, just stay off your phone, get out of the left lane. Period. Please, all of you. If you're, oh, God. But yes, that's what
a little bit of a pet peeve of yours, I see.
Oh my gosh.
So, so how did we go from New Jersey to living in Atlanta? So set up the timeline for me.
So graduated high school 2003. Cars were kind of my thing.
Best year ever. Thank you.
It was a great year. Hot Wheels were my first toy growing up that I can remember, and I've always had cars ever since. Okay. So went through an automotive course in high school. Found out that I'm good at working on cars. My dad's really cheap, so he made me work on his car. Yeah. So messed up. We'd go to a mechanic shop, and he'd throw me in the garage. Like, not throw, but like he'd put me in, like, oh, this is my son Ronny. And he'd introduce me to the mechanic. The mechanic was like, alright. Yeah. He's like, oh, let my son watch. He is interested in learning how to work on the vehicles. And I'm like, I am?
Right.
I was like, sure, why not? So I watched, and then like the next time something went wrong, my dad would be like, okay, now you fix it on the car in the garage. I'm like, with what tools, man? Like, he bought me like this 10-piece Craftsman set that like, oh god, I couldn't do nothing. Anyway, so I went to a class to work on cars with proper tools, figured out I'm alright at it. Okay. And I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. Went to school for engineering sciences, which would have branched out into mechanical engineering. The goal originally was to move to Japan to work for the R&D division of either Honda, Toyota, or Nissan. Like, that was my goal. So I can speak Japanese because of that.
So wait a minute, pause.
Yes.
So, your parents, I'm guessing from your accent, are from India.
Yes.
And then they came to New Jersey.
Yes.
And that's where you were born.
That's where I was born.
Okay, and learned how to work on cars because your dad's so cheap. Yeah. Okay, cool. And so now you can also speak Japanese.
Yes, because the goal was to move to Japan. I loved the culture, loved the language, loved the food, loved their cars, loved their way of thinking. It was just really, really swell place to study because I didn't go at the point.
I actually have a cousin. So you were in
you love Japan culture, Japanese culture. Okay, so you speak Japanese.
Roughly, yes.
Roughly.
I'm not super fluent, but I can get around.
Okay.
Well enough.
And you were loving the cars and the culture, and go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so love the cars, love the culture, love the food. They just seem to have things figured out in terms of technology. Now that I've actually been there, that'll be later in the story, I guess, but I've been there and I know more about the culture. I kind of learned that they worked themselves to death, and that's how they got as far ahead as they did. And I like to chill, so maybe it's not such a great fit, but I still have a strong admiration for the country and the culture and all that kind of stuff.
It's interesting that you say that. I have a cousin. He actually lives in Japan, and he married a Japanese woman. So
As he would.
yeah, and then I'm just really proud of him. He speaks fluent Japanese.
Oh, no way. What part of Japan is he?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I do apologize. In fact, he was just here because they just renewed their vows.
Oh, that's cool.
Unfortunately, I had to miss it because I had to work. But they came here and they got to introduce their parents to our family. Now, the initial wedding, like most of our family flew to Japan, but
Oh, that's awesome.
I was unfortunate. I had to miss that one too because I was giving birth. So
Well, yeah, that'll put you out on something.
yeah, but that's really cool. I'm glad that you have that admiration for a culture
Yeah.
that's much different than yours.
Yeah.
I didn't have a ton of exposure to it, and actually I think the thing that initiated me into the culture is cartoons. So I used to be a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z and
Yes.
Yu Yu Hakusho and all those old school anime. And then when I realized, when I started working on cars, that Hondas and Toyotas and Nissans were the cars to have and to work on.
Okay.
For my age bracket, I was like, oh well, maybe Japan has some stuff figured out.
Okay.
And, I started learning more about comparisons, like how you can find a Toyota Camry with 500,000 miles, and that's not abnormal. Like that's
Wow.
totally normal. And I kind of put that to the test because I have a '94 Infiniti G20 that has 427,000 miles,
Wow.
which it's like that's insane. I would never see a BMW or a Chevy or a Dodge with that mileage without having something
Definitely not a
replaced
Dodge.
substantially, right?
Right.
So that was the original goal, and then I realized I am terrible at school. Like,
You're not the only one.
It was so bad. Like, I remember I was taking a chemistry final once, and I started to smell burnt popcorn. And so I started asking fellow students, like, y'all smell like burnt popcorn?
Yeah.
And all of them were like, no, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? I found out I was frying my own brain because I was thinking so hard trying to do this final.
Well, that's different. That's totally different because from being from an Indian family, like that's normally you guys are under a lot of pressure. It's like you have to be a doctor or a lawyer, or I'm not trying to say that that's how every Indian family is before I get in trouble.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying most, Indian families, Asian families, like you have to be good at school.
Yeah.
It's not an option. So how did you deal with that?
I fell apart. I endured a lot of depression because ultimately the formula that was handed to me was if you don't do well in school, you will not stay alive. Like there is no way to succeed in life if you do not do well in school.
Wow.
Which was
That's a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of pressure. Like, and I mean, I'm sure if you ask a lot of parents, like, is that what you think? They would dance and la 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 around and be like, oh no, of course there's other ways to do whatever, but you should do school. Like, so I tried the normal school route because my brother did the right thing. He went to Johns Hopkins University.
Hey.
He studied biomedical engineering.
Oh yeah.
He got his master's in biomedical engineering, and then he got his law degree from George Mason University.
So he was doing the damn thing. Huh?
He's brilliant, and
Yeah.
he is very textbook savvy. Like he knows how to work the system in such a way of, if I study this, this is probably what they're going to ask. This is what I need to know to get by.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more ethereal in a sense. Like it has to matter to me for me to know it. Like,
I completely understand.
history is important, but I don't care how many wives Louis XIII had. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when is that ever going to serve? So, Tangent. Anyway, figured out I'm not good at school.
Yeah.
And I kind of just told my parents, like, I think I just need to go somewhere and just learn how to work on cars. So there was a representative from my high school that taught us about a technical college that's out in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And it's called Ohio Technical College. And I got back in touch with that guy and went through the paperwork, and I was like, yeah, this is what I got to do. Like, I've got to get out of New Jersey, and I got to study cars, because that's all I know I can do well. It's not a matter of, you know, I'm so passionate about it. Like, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my life's purpose. Like, so I knew I just needed to do something to stay alive.
Right.
And so I went out, learned about cars, did really well out there. I graduated like second or third in my class.
That's good.
Yeah, got stuck in this, not stuck, placed in a BMW specialty training program, which allowed me to, at the time, 2006, 2007, have a job right after graduating, which was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
So before I even graduated from the BMW program, they placed me in a dealership in Atlanta and said, this is your moving bonus, this is your starting pay, this is your allowance, like all this kind of stuff. And it was unheard of for the time. Like, it was a $2,000 moving bonus. They gave a $4,000 interest-free loan so that you can start your tool package.
Yeah.
They gave you your first month's rent free. It was great, and I had friends down here that I could stay with for the initial segment of my being here.
And were these friends from New Jersey or friends from where you were just coming from?
So interesting. So I moved from Cleveland to Atlanta directly. These friends I met on the internet. There's a forum for Infinity G20s.
Okay.
And we all make friends there. There's probably about 120, 150 of us that really replicated the original. We call ourselves the OGs, the original G20 owners. And so
there's like a fan club for Infinity G20.
There was.
Okay.
We are quickly dwindling. We understand that there are better cars out there for the money.
Right.
We understand that the car has served its purpose for its time.
Hey, you know what? I actually know that there is a Cobalt club.
Oh yeah, a Cobalt.
Of all cars, Cobalt. I don't understand that.
Because a Cobalt SS is actually a very fast car.
Of course, you would know that.
Yep. Yeah.
So now you're in Atlanta,
Uh-huh.
and you have this new job and this new lease on life. So what happens next?
A lot of soul searching. So just trying to figure it out, because I finally figured out that not everywhere in the world is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Not everywhere is that cold and quick and whatever.
So how did you like the Southern hospitality?
Southern hospitality was a delightful, refreshing awakening. Like, it was a very refreshing moment, especially in Atlanta. Like, because Atlanta does have the diversity, it does have the culture, it does have some history. It was a good blend of things. It's a city, but it's not too fast. There's a lot of good things about it. And I mean, opinions change, but when I first came here, it was delightful. It was absolutely delightful.
Yeah.
Like, I remember smiling at women in the north, and they would think that I wanted something from them.
That's typical northern women. We'll be right back with Breaking Barriers. with Ronny Mathew. So I'm glad you are liking the Southern hospitality and the diversity. So let's continue on your timeline.
So working for BMW, and the one frustrating thing about going through car college and everything was every year I'd have this conversation with God of, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Like, this is, I never felt that good at it because even people I went to school with, often the kids there would have a history of some sort. Like their parents would be mechanics, or their dad would be a mechanic, or their uncle was a mechanic, and so ever since they were 10 years old, they had a wrench in their hand and they were really learning how to do things.
Yeah.
I wasn't that kid. Like, I had a dad that, you know, I mean, he was there for me in my life, but he didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? Like, he was just there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was awkward.
Yeah.
So competing with those kinds of kids always kind of, I always had a bit of an inferiority complex because my brother was so successful, and then I was always like not as successful, like very clearly scaled. And so
I had one of those brothers.
Oh yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
He's like perfect at everything.
Yeah.
It's like he walks and it's just perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when I tried to learn my own things, like my brother would learn what I was trying to learn faster than I could and then be better. I'm like, man, this is annoying. So like when I saw those kids that, you know, had that experience and that training, I'm like, man, that's time I'm never going to catch up on. Like, is this really for me? And so when I worked at BMW, I did my first year, and, you know, same kind of thing. It was like, man, God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And then I got promoted.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's a good sign.
That helps.
Yeah, a little bit more money, you know, a little bit less stress in terms of the financial crunch, but a little bit more pressure in terms of work that I could balance. And I was like, all right, that's good. And it also gave me, this will play in later, but it gave me a really unique sense of driving. Like I have been racing up to that point. I've done some club racing with the SCCA. I've done some drifting with a variety of events.
Okay. What's SCCA?
SCCA is the Sports Car Club of America.
Okay.
They're a sanctioned racing body, and so they'll find giant parking lots or racetracks, and people will pay $100 to $200 to show up at their track.
Okay.
And then just race around for a day or two.
And just do like crazy turns and.
I mean, that's more for the drift events. But,
okay.
For the SCCA events, it's typically get through the course as fast as you can.
Oh.
And so you learn a lot about car control, what a car does. You know, oh, doing this at this time will make you do this, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of little elements of my history that kind of play together. Like my video game history. I was really big on video games, and so understanding timing and reaction times and looking for details, that played into racing. Same thing with drifting, you kind of just feel things out rather than look for a program. All that kind of stuff kind of came together. And so when I worked at BMW, people would often be afraid of test driving the more expensive cars. Because we made $30,000 a year as a new technician, which is, I mean, it's okay money, but it's not, you know, you're not changing the world. Yeah. And so if you wreck a car that's $110,000 and you end up on the line for it, like, you'll pay that off for the rest of your life at your $30,000 a year. So a lot of people were afraid to drive those kinds of cars, and I wasn't. I kind of feel like I had this revelation that it didn't matter if I wrecked a $100,000 car or a $15,000 car. I was screwed either way. Like, you know? So I may as well just go for it. Yeah. And so there was this little business park that we would do our test drives on, or I would do my test drives on. And it had great elevation changes, had all these twisties, it had overarching trees, so you had different surfaces and all that kind of stuff. And so I really learned how to push a car to its limit. That helped me figure out when a car would fail, because if you push a car to its limit and something goes wrong, then that's the problem, right? If you go beyond the limit, then of course something's going to break. But if you're right at the limit and something's not doing something properly, you know that there's a failing component. And so I would be able to isolate each system individually in terms of driving concerns. So if someone was like, I feel this weird clunk at this speed, but only sometimes, it's because they're driving normally the whole time, right? They drive normally on the highways, their side roads, whatever. So I would flog the hell out of the car on my little test track. And, if you throw a turn hard enough right at the limit, you will hear that noise consistently. Like, oh, okay, it's that. And they're like, oh, how did you reproduce it? That, I never told them how I did that. But that's how I developed that skill set. And, moved on from there, and the same thing kind of happened. Like every year I'd have the conversation of what do I do, and I'd get promoted. And then finally I hit this glass ceiling where I was the shop manager for BMW and Mini Cooper alike.
Okay.
Because it was a combined dealership.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. I'm getting paid good money. I'm young. I'm driving a different BMW and Mini Cooper home every night because I'm diagnosing them. Things seemed to be all right, but I was working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
Directly I was taking care of 37 technicians. Overall, I was taking care of 110 technicians.
Wow.
And there were only 3 of us shop managers.
Okay.
So that was a lot of stuff to take care of, which I didn't mind.
Yeah.
But it was the managers above me that put unfair pressure on us middle managers to really come down on the employees. And it wasn't anything that was their fault either. It was these systematic industrial political issues. Like it was a bad look for everyone. And it reached a point where they tried to compromise my morals and ethics in terms of taking care of people.
Okay.
Because I'm a firm believer of if you decide to call yourself a leader, you are the first servant to everyone. You serve everyone first, and that's what makes you a good leader.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
And so when they asked me to squash my employees for no reason, I was like, I can't do that. And I've resisted, so they wrote me up and reprimanded me. And I was like, all right, if you're going to reprimand me, then I'll just walk, because I'm still not going to. Just reprimanding me isn't going to scare me into doing what you want me to do. And they're like, well, before you say that, take 3 days off. And I'm like, I made my mind up already.
Right.
Like,
You're like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, they were like, oh,
wait a minute.
And so I took the 3 days and I came back and I was like, yeah, no, you guys made me compromise my morals. Like, I'm not, that's not me. So I left and took a month off, and I started working at an Infiniti dealership for a little while. And kind of in that transition, I had another one of those God moments where I was like, what do I do next? And it was weird, but the thing that came up was acting, film industry.
Okay.
And I was like, no. No.
Okay.
Because I have absolutely no training whatsoever. Like, I've never went to school for it. I never did any kind of theater. I did the church plays, like the stupid little things where I was a sheep or something in, baby Jesus' birth.
Sheep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no lines, nothing like that.
Right.
But I tried my hand at it in the transition, and I had some abnormal success. Like, I came across some really good people. I was really encouraged by a lot of people. I enjoyed it whenever I did it.
Yeah.
It didn't pay bills. I mean, you can't expect it to pay bills right off the bat.
Yeah, no.
But I had fun doing it,
Yeah.
I did some extra work. I did some, student films, little things here and there.
What would you say was your big budget production that you worked on?
The biggest one that I can think of that people would know me for is it's unfortunate it didn't get more of a chance. 2016, the TV show Containment came out.
Okay.
It was on the CW, and it was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
It's just it was during the election.
Oh.
So in that show, I was patient zero, which I was the person that started the virus that quarantined Atlanta and killed everyone.
So you were the outbreak monkey, is what you're telling me. Okay, cool. Way to go, Ron.
Thank you. I wasn't happy to do it, but I was happy to take the paycheck.
Exactly.
And the credit.
That's what you gotta do. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah. So that's probably the most notable credit. I mean, I'm in other things like I was in Kevin Polly Saves the World. I just did Zombieland 2 earlier this year. I had stints in MacGyver. Actually, no, not MacGyver. I'm sorry. I did support on MacGyver.
Okay. All right. We'll take one pause, and we'll be right back with Breaking Barriers.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Denasha Harrison Show from Chicago. Yes, it's about time. I will be doing the show from Chicago. So what is the Denasha Harrison Show about? It's about what's going on in the city, everything from public situations, everything from political situations. We're going to have a great time doing this show. Before, I was coming out of Baltimore. Now I'll be out of Chicago. So join me for the Dennis Harrison Show on Clear Productions Network.
I'm Zinthally.
And I'm Stu.
And we're the gorgeous, brilliant females.
Welcome back to Breaking Barriers. We are here with Ronny Mathew. We were just running down the list of all the things you've worked on, which is a lot, actually.
So I have a diversified set of skills, right? So I'm a mechanic, I'm an actor, and I'm also a stunt person.
Right.
So each one kind of led to the other.
Okay.
After I finished working at Infinity, I got fired from that job that would be a conversation for another day.
Okay. No worries.
I worked at a mom and pop shop for a little bit and had a lot of fun there, but I got exposed to working on Lamborghinis and Ferraris while I was there by accident, total accident.
Hey, take the experience as it comes.
Yeah, totally. So that became a frequent thing. That mom and pop shop closed down. I opened my own shop,
Okay.
and all those exotic car customers kept coming to me, and I maintained the same mindset of a car. You don't know if a car is fixed until you drive it.
Okay.
So I would tell my customers, like, hey, this sounds bad. I'm not doing it for joyride purposes, I swear. But I'd like to hang on to your car for a few days so that I can make sure it's fine. I'd rather it failed under my hands, or while it's in my hands, rather than let it fail in your hands. Then you have to deal with a tow truck and all those bills,
Right.
and it makes me look bad. Let me just make sure it's fine.
Okay.
So I'd drive Lambos and Ferraris and Porsches and Aston Martins and Maseratis
Right.
regularly. And and sometimes I would go to set with them. Sometimes I would go to stunt hustles with them.
Okay.
Sometimes I would go to auditions with them. And so I became known as the exotic car guy.
Okay.
And so the first movie I ever was a stand-in, first and last movie to be a stand-in on, and I will never do stand-in work again, was on John Hamm's $1 Million Arm.
Okay.
They asked if they could rent several of the cars that I worked on, so I gave them a Lamborghini Gallardo, a Ford GT, an Aston Martin DB9, and a Bentley Flying Spur. And so we had all those cars shipped to set, and one of the picture car mechanics took note that I was taking care of all of these cars,
Yeah.
and they remembered that and brought me on to Fast and the Furious 7
Okay.
as one of the mechanics for that,
Wow.
which was really gnarly because gnarly in like a surreal kind of manner, because I was working on Paul Walker's car,
Oh, okay.
and literally as soon as I finished working on it, the movie car, not his personal car,
Understood.
I got a call 15 minutes after he died.
Oh, wow.
So like it blew my mind to know before so many people that he was in this car crash and he died.
Yeah.
And so production came to a screeching halt, like all this stuff happened. It was really, really weird. Like
Yeah.
you just don't expect to be a part of something like that. That's national news. Like
Yeah.
everyone knew when that happened. But that also kind of numbed me to the sensation of the fanfare and celebrity that comes with being in the film industry. Like, oh, I'm actually a part of this
Yeah.
now. But we went from Fast and the Furious 7. That put me onto Captain America: Civil War.
Okay.
I was a mechanic there, and I made a lot of stunt friends along the way. And this is where I started kind of realizing, okay, I can make my money as a mechanic. Acting, I will always be doing,
Okay.
because you're always a starving artist, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone is an actor in LA, everyone is an actor in New York, and whether you make it or not, there's a lot of luck and persistence to it. So
Okay.
I'm always going to be pushing that envelope, but at the same time, I have to live.
Yeah.
I have to pay bills. So I kind of introduced stunt work into it because I knew there's no one that looks like me in the Southeast. I know I have a unique driving skill set, and I'm not a dick. Like, I don't want to be a dick. Like, I've noticed that a lot of people that are, not a lot of people, but there are people in the stunt industry that get very far and that success kind of goes to their head.
Yeah.
And then they have that chip on their shoulder of like, oh, this is how good I am. And it's like, we show up, we do our job, we go home. We get paid a decent wage, and it's fun. Like, it's so much fun to do.
Yeah.
So, like, why be a dick about it? Like, I understand you want job security and you want to protect your position and so on and so forth.
Not to mention, I feel like they should really just appreciate the fact that they get to do what they love.
Right.
And not be so self-righteous about it.
And again, I'm not going to say any of it's easy. Like, everyone has to work hard and earn it. But there's no need to be, like a dick about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of factored all that together, and I started pursuing stunt work a little bit more to see, because there's not many Indian actors for me to double. So maybe I could do stunt acting in there somewhere, which is what has become a thing for me.
Yeah.
And while meeting those people on Civil War, my name got out for a couple of other things. And I think my first stunt job was for Baby Driver.
Okay, that's a very good movie.
So I was one of the mechanics. I was hired on as one of the mechanics for Baby Driver, but then I became one of the stunt drivers for Baby Driver as well.
Yeah.
Which was exciting. And the coolest thing is, you know, the red Subaru in the opening sequence? That sits in my garage now. Like,
are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the. I watch a lot of movies with my man, and like, I just remember he was like, "Let's watch this." I was like, what is this? You know, but it was such a good movie.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember that scene. So that's awesome that car's in your driveway.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on. Met some really great people. It's another kind of like weird moment of like being in the know before the rest of the nation caught up. Totally knew Kevin Spacey was a pedophile. Like, that was no surprise. Like, met him the first day, and I'm like, oh, cool, Kevin Spacey, American Beauty. Like,
another good movie.
Right, great actor. You know, great legacy actor, great guy. Has done all these things, and then like a few days in, you're like, he's a little too friendly with like the young kid, like Ansel. It's like, Ansel's of age, but he looks like he's 16 or 17.
He does look very young.
Looks super young, and like Kevin Spacey's demeanor changed tremendously.
Really?
Whenever he got around Ansel, I'm like, all right, so dude's gay, that's fine.
Right.
But why is he going for the young kid? Like, that's suspect. And so like a bunch of other people would kind of be like, oh yeah, like he's a total pedophile. Like, he likes younger looking boys. And they're like, we all know this? And we're okay with this. Like,
let me get this straight. I'm not laughing at the fact that of Kevin Spacey being a pedophile. I'm laughing at his delivery of the story. I mean, you know, it's a tricky situation. It's hard. You know, we all have our demons.
Yeah.
I'm not out. It's
no. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, everyone has their vice. Everyone has their skeletons. Everyone has their demons. Everyone has their fight that they're ashamed to talk about.
Yeah.
I get it. Not everyone has to talk about it. But like, when you flaunt that shit, like, it's like he took a pedophile scarf and then just whipped it around his neck as he walked on the set. I'm like, yo, come on, man. Like,
wasn't even trying to hide it, huh?
Like, it's one of those situations where your power and your privilege kind of get ahead of everything.
That's kind of scary.
Where it's like, if you accused him of being a pedophile, or, you know, just being like a creepy sex guy, he would say no, and then like, what do you have?
Right.
Because he's the one with the money, he's the one with the power, he's the one with the entourage, he's the one with the influence. Like, what would anyone be able to say to be like, nah, dude, he sucks little boy dick? Like, there's nothing you can, like, I wouldn't have anything. The Grips wouldn't have anything. None of the other stunt people would have it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just and you kind of just got that immediately.
And so and the staff knows it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, it was so blatant. Yeah. But like, what could anyone do? Because we're all nobodies in his face.
Wow.
And I mean, producers aren't going to say anything because that's an investment for them.
Yeah.
Directors aren't going to say anything because that's an investment. Like, there's a lot, like, it's a tricky situation.
So what did you do? You just, like, on set, you were just like, I'm gonna just stay over here.
I mean, it's kind of like what, I mean, I know he find me attractive and I don't look young. So I'm not in his wheelhouse of fun.
Safe.
Right, totally safe. So it's tough, man. Like, especially with all these movements coming out, like the Time's Up and the Me Too and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate it. But at the same time, it's always a very careful line to tread because you don't know who you're messing with.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone's got someone to protect. Like, if it's not yourself, then it's your family, it's your parents, your kids, you know, your siblings. Someone, like, you don't know what these people could do.
Right.
So you try to call out someone like Harvey Weinstein, like, that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
Unless you have the money to bolster yourself for defenses, it's a dangerous thing. I'm not saying, like, don't call them out.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely call out the bad guys that are taking advantage of these demons. But, man, it's hard. It's hard. So
I am like so blown away by all of your experiences. I do think it's crazy how one thing that you did led to this thing, to that thing. So now you're on this set and you get to be the stunt driver. So like where else have you gone? Like where else does this take you? And then for you to also have that experience. So Paul Walker passes away. Now you're dealing with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, and you know, I've come across other amazing people along the way too. Like you hear stories about bad actors with bad attitudes and so on and so forth. Like one of my favorite stories to talk about is Christian Bale. Everyone knows about Christian Bale yelling at the grip insanely. Did you not hear about it?
Hey.
So Christian Bale was on set doing a scene, and the grip carried a ladder through and dropped the ladder loudly. And Christian Bale lit him up. Yelled, cut the scene, yelled at him. Someone caught it on cell phone or something, and it made him look like a complete asshole.
Okay.
But if you're an actor and I have to suspend my disbelief to make this a skyscraper.
Yes.
Imagine I have to turn this room into an abandoned skyscraper.
Yeah.
I have to turn myself into some person that's going through some kind of emotional trauma.
Yeah.
And I have to ignore all the cameras, all the lights, and just be focused on the moment that I'm acting in. And some dude just drops a ladder in the middle of me focusing on all that shit.
It's gonna upset you.
I'm gonna be pretty pissed. Like,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of money, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of concentration. And then you catch me in that moment and like make me look bad at my worst, like that's a little messed up. Like
He's human.
right. And so people won't understand that. But he's still a good person. I've worked with God, who was Birdman? The original Batman that everyone loves.
Oh,
so
Michael
much.
Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Worked with him on Spider-Man. He is the nicest guy I've come across. Talked to Marissa Tomei on Spider-Man. She is just as beautiful in real life as she is on camera, by the way. Like, that is not movie magic.
Yes.
Marissa Tomei, you are beautiful. If you ever see this, my gosh. And you are a sweetheart. Thank you for talking to me. Yeah, it was delightful. Michael Keaton, same thing.
He's one of my favorite actors.
The thing I love about Michael Keaton is that he does the basics very well, and that's all he does. He doesn't have a magnificent, technique. It's not this abnormal sense of, he just takes the fundamentals of acting and cranks it up to a 15 and
it's
mix magic.
Movie magic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ronny. You have been amazing. I hope, if it's okay, I can follow up with you.
Yes.
We can catch up with you and see what you're doing. Maybe
Absolutely.
we can come out and see some of your cars.
Yeah,
And
totally.
see how everything is going. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You guys, this has been Breaking Barriers with Deirdre Shandon. I want to say thank you to Atlanta, Georgia for being a gracious host. I'll see you next time on Breaking Barriers.